was supposed to shoot an update video informing everybody of what's been going on in the project that we're currently involved in. The reason I didn't post is, for one, at the initial start of any process, especially when it comes to a process of transforming your body and your mind, most people are under the impression that, hey, just give me exercises to do, just tell me what to eat, and I'm going to go do it. That's not a transformational process. There's this saying that if you free your mind, your ass is going to follow. So, before you can get into the nitty-gritty of doing the work, doing the nutritional process, we have to change our way of thinking concerning changing ourselves. Because our brain is designed for one specific reason: to keep us the fuck alive. And our body only likes one primary thing, even though there's a constant war being waged, which they call the metabolic process, where the body is continually destroying and rebuilding itself. So, with that in a nutshell, if you get involved in anything that is uncomfortable, anything that is going to force you to push yourself to the limit in order to create change, your mind or your brain and your body is going to rebel against the process. So, in order to make the transformation occur, we must change the way we think. The reason being is because all of us are programmed. We operate out of a blueprint. Our initial form of programming is given to us by our parents, our early environment, the school system, our peers, and our social culture. And this programming, it influences and it affects our worldview. And our worldview, coupled with the knowledge that we ingest and the way that we process information, is a determining factor on what we see and the reality that we create. Now, since we have been programmed for others, more often than not, the things that we engage in and are involved in is based on that degree of programming. Throughout the course of our lives, many people will say, damn, I'm becoming my mother, or I'm becoming my father. This realization sets in as we become adults and move into doing the day-to-day things in life. But it's not that we're becoming our mother or our father, it's just that we are playing out the program that was instilled upon our minds by our mothers and fathers. We have developed this thing called neural associations with certain activities. And the neural associations will determine how we look at the activity, whether it brings us joy, whether it brings us pain. And guess what? For most of us, our neural associations and our brain makes us want to avoid what brings us discomfort and embrace what brings us pleasure and comfort. And it's because of these neural associations that we have to reprogram ourselves to a degree. We have to come to the realization that the majority of the things that we are doing or that we are involved in, especially if they're not getting us to the spot where we know we want to be. You have a person who says, I'm 30 pounds overweight. I get exhausted when I walk to the upper flight of stairs. Another person who says, when they get out of the shower, damn, I don't like my body, how my body looks, but I want to do something to change it, and they walk away from the mirror. Or the person catches their breath after coming to the top of the stairs, and then instead of beginning to do something at that point in time to change the condition, they'll hear the thought, they'll see the thought, and they'll move back into their programming. To get to a new level, you have to come to a new level of thinking. This cat, Albert Einstein, I got a picture of him on my wall. I'm going to show it to you. Boop! That's Albert right there. Now, he once said that you cannot solve a problem. You cannot solve a problem at the same level of thinking you were at when the problem was created. you have to, what they call, go outside of the box. And going outside of the box, for so many of us, is very, very uncomfortable. And we were at a point in this process where the parties who are involved were going through that dichotomy within their minds. I want to change, but I want to do things the same way. Or just tell me what exercises to do and I'll get them done. Now, when I'm in a gym with people and they come in and they plop down they $5 for 25 minutes or they $100 for a whole 50 minutes, I'll take them through their exercises. And I will try to provide them with nutritional information and other physiological information on how to do things biomechanically correctly as I'm going with them. But when I'm working with someone individually who tell me that they want a life change, the process is totally different. One of the first things that we have to do is we have to shake them up. We have to provide them with exercises, mental exercises, and projects that is going to challenge them. One of the things that I have everyone do is write their goals down. Most people say, well, I have goals. And then we tell them, let me see the goals. They don't have them written down. Or if they write something down, it'll be vague. Goals, which is the first thing that you got to have, a direction that you want to go in. Goals must be, first and foremost, placed in writing. Secondly, they must be specific. Thirdly, they must have a start date, they must have an end date, and there must be something that inspires you. And once you get these goals down, once you know specifically what it is that you want, once you establish when you're going to start it, when the projected ending date, and something that truly inspires you, that's when the quest begins. And since the universe is established on positive and negative, yin and yang, good and evil, whatever the fuck you want to call it, the minute you start out on your quest to do something positive, the minute you start on your quest to change your body and your mind, guess what's going to happen? Contrary forces are going to immediately step in. And the first contrary force is going to be your self-doubt. You're going to say, I want to do this, but I don't think I can do it. Or I want to do this, or it seems to be hard. The second thing that's going to happen is obstacles are going to come from everywhere to attempt to stop you from accomplishing your goal. Your mate will do it to you. Your kids will do it to you. Your job will do it to you. Even people that are supposed to be your friends will do it to you and say, no, you can't do that. Why are you doing that? Why? Because your change means that inevitably, if they're going to remain in your environment, they have to change. So, in order for us to begin the process, we got to have goals. Now, after we have our goals written down, we have to begin the process of establishing a plan. Your plan is your roadmap. It shows you how you're going to get from point A to point B. And guess what? That plan, just like that goal, has to be in writing. You have to have your map. Even in the military, they have what's called rules of engagement. In the military, they have what's called battle plans. In businesses, they have what they call a mission statement, and all the actions that they take along the way is meant to fulfill this mission statement. And they fulfill the mission statement by establishing their agenda and then beginning to work on the projects that are going to assist them in accomplishing their goals to fulfill their mission statement. And guess what? All of this shit is in writing. And then, after the goals, after the establishment of the plan, you begin the day-to-day work. Now, the day-to-day work is an arduous task because that means you're going to have to prioritize. Some of the things that you used to do, guess what? You can no longer do them. Two things that have to become vitally important in your life is one, your nutrition, because you are what you eat. Your nutrition determines and dictates your synaptic firing in the brain. Your nutrition determines and dictates what your body will look like. Your nutrition dictates what your energy level will be. Your entire reality is dependent upon your perception. That's what it's fundamentally dependent on. And your perception is dictated by your level of knowledge, one, and your chemical and hormonal fluctuation, which is primarily dictated by what? By your nutrition. There's this saying in computer lingo, it's called GIGO, G-I-G-O, and it simply means garbage in, garbage out. And if you're putting garbage in your body in relation to what you eat, what you view, what you read, who and what you hang around, guess what? That's what you're going to have to manifest in your life, because every cause has an effect. Every cause has an effect. So, after the goals, after the plan, and after beginning the process, you have to monitor yourself very carefully. And then in the monitoring, I like to use this acronym. It's called DAR. You got to decide. Then you got to act, which is the writing of your goals, the writing of your plans, beginning your process. And then you have to repeat. Continually perform the same actions in modified variations over and over again, and look at yourself and the progress that you're making. And if you're not making the progress you want, the last R comes in: readjust. And most of us, because of our programming, because of our years and years of inadequate nutrition, and because of our years and years of being inside of our own comfort bubble, and everybody exists in their comfort bubble, whether it's your social circle, whether it's your work circle, whether it's your economic circle. And most people become the big fish in the little pond. They're just saying, if you're the smartest one in your group, guess what? You need to find another group, because in order to grow, you need to be challenged. In order for you to be happy, you need to progress. And there is no progress without growth, and there is no progress without challenge. So we were at this stuck point, and the communication was sporadic, but I continued to send out the information. I continued to wait for the responses, and I had one young lady, Miss Jackie. She has been very good about doing the exercises, about returning the information, about fulfilling what's asked of her. But here's the thing, and I noticed this: the returning of the information, the responses that were issued, they were curt and superficial. No in-depth analysis of the people. No in-depth analysis of the issues and situations. So therefore, it was just a superficial regurgitation of information that was acquired, not a delving into the self, utilizing critical thinking, coming up with an assessment, and then providing the information that would assist in a much more rapid transformation into the next phases of the process. And that's only common. People do that. And why do they do that? One, programming. Two, the desire for homeostasis. So, we rolled through that process. We rolled through that process with Chaz, and we rolled through that process with Miss Sharon. And now, in this week, the communication has been more constant, because I think they're coming to the realization of that point, or the point that I have to make to everyone that I work with individually, that this is going to be no easy task. When people go into the Army, Navy, Air Force, or Marines, when they get out of basic training, they possess the highest level of self-esteem that they've ever had in their life. Now, when most people go through their initial 2 or 4 years in the service, when they come home, they attempt to reintegrate back into society and become reacclimated to living in society. But we have statistics that continually show that the highest rates of homelessness, the highest rates of suicide, as well as the highest rates of post-traumatic stress and other mental disorders is possessed by people who are coming home from the service. Now, the process that they go through the basic training or the boot camp process, it does something that helps transform their way of thinking. But because they are taken out of that new concentric zone and placed back into the old concentric zone, or the places where they come from, guess what? The old tapes begin to play and they fall into the old patterns of behavior, and that, coupled with the guilt of not being the them that they know they are capable of being, it further complicates their situation. Now, let's take the person that completes basic training, and then after basic training they go on to become Special Forces, Rangers, SEALs, Green Berets, and goes through the process that's required in order to attain those particular positions. The vast majority of them, when they return back to civilian life, guess what they do? They prosper. Now, the question is, why do they do that? Why does this occur? They both go through the same initial boot camp process. They both stay in the military, whatever branch that it is. But here's the thing. The ones that become the SEALs, the Rangers, and the Green Berets, they go through a more intense training that is totally designed to help them to come to the understanding that pain must be endured. Without pain, there can be no growth. Even when we come into this realm of existence, even before we're born, we have to go through an extremely painful process. We, as a sperm cell, must swim. First we are ejected. We're ejected from the gonads of our Father. And we have to swim up a vaginal canal, past millions of other eggs, and we got to collide into an egg. And then once we collide, not just gently lay upon, I mean forceful collision like a meteorite hitting a planet, then we have to gestate and incubate in fluid for 9 months and then be yanked out of there. And when we're born naturally, our skull is split, or we receive the C-section and is yanked out of there and forced into a world where we go from being aquatic creatures to being a creature that must suck air. Very painful process, but all of us who are living today had to go through it. And it's that way throughout life. But because of the programming that we receive from well-meaning people, but people who themselves have been programmed from a previous generation, we get engrams imprinted on our mind that cause us to perform self-destructive behavior, that cause us to have continually negative self-talk within our minds, that propels us to gravitate towards the things in our environment that's going to bring us pleasure, even though we know the end results based on evidential history of certain activities will result in pain down the road. So I had to work through the process with them. I gave them a number of projects. I'm not going to reveal what the projects are because it's a part of their own personal process, and as they move along, if they choose to reveal them, then hey, they will. And so now we're at the point, especially with Miss Jackie, who has been more proficient and who has been more timely in her delivering of the exercises. I sent her her first upper body routine and her first mild cardio routine. Now, in this next week, if she completes the project that I currently have her working on, I'm going to send her another workout via video for her lower body. And then after we do that and continually switch up the variables in the routine that she is currently doing, we're going to move on to the next level. But all the while we are going through it, I'm going to be providing her with exercises that's going to challenge her thinking. Because if you change your body and your mind is still where it previously was, guess what's going to happen? Ultimately, you're going to start playing that record again. It's been statistically shown that most people that go on diets, and I don't like diets, the first 3 letters of that shit is die. That's some very uncomfortable shit. But most people who go on diets, within 6 months to a year after coming off the diet, they gain all the weight they lost back, as well as an additional 5 to 10 pounds. Why is that? Because their thinking has not changed. So we were in that stagnant process, and that's the primary reason why I didn't post the video, because I had to figure out what can I do to help trigger them to come to this realization for themselves. Because there's this old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can provide the people with the information, but you can't make them execute. And execution is the most important part. Execution can only occur if you consciously make the move to execute. So, currently, we're still moving along. Next Friday, I'm going to make another updated video letting you know where we're at. Miss Jackie's moving along in the process, Miss Sharon's moving along in the process, and Chaz is moving along in the process. The next step for Miss Jackie is the additional workout, and then we'll begin to structure her nutritional regimen. The next steps for Miss Sharon is begin the working out process and then the nutritional program. And the same holds true for Chaz. And all of their workouts, all of their nutritional regimens will be specifically designed for them. What their goals are, what their lifestyle patterns are like, and ultimately what they want to do to themselves. But primarily, it'll be nutritional regimens that are designed to help enhance their overall health. Because we need to understand this. If you live long enough, you're going to get old. It's going to happen. That's a part of the way this rock that we're spinning on is structured. And because of the way my mind has been transformed, I like to look down the road. I work out now for when I get 60, 70, and 80. My health problems will be minimal. I will still be able to perform and function adequately, but most importantly, I'll be able to maintain my independence. Because you live long enough, you're going to get old. And ultimately, another reason why it's so important to have this transformational process occur. This is my belief. This is my fundamental belief. I'm going to spit it out to you. And if it registers with you, then it does. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. Maybe it's not meant for you to grasp it or to get it. I am a spirit. I possess a soul. And I live inside of this body. This body is my primary mode of transportation through this realm of existence. My mind assists me in creating my reality in this realm of existence, in addition to helping me continue to move forward to my inevitable encounter. Encounter with what? The portal of death. Because that's where we're going. Nobody gets out of this shit alive. Even Jesus or Yeshua of Nazareth didn't get out of life. If you go study your scripture, you'll see that he didn't get out of life. No one has ever gotten out of this alive. So, because I know what my inevitable end is, And because I know that I am a spirit possessing a mind, living inside a body, and I am going to exit this body, I am preparing myself to be able to take care of this body as it ages, and to be able to cross over the threshold that I'm going to have to cross over inevitably. And the reason why I say cross over inevitably, because one, everybody dies, and two, if I am a spirit, and the spirit is quintessentially energy, conscious energy, and energy never dissipates, it only recreates itself in another space and time. When I leave this body, my conscious energy is going to still exist. And it's going to be a conscious energy that I'm going to have to navigate through the portal of death and whatever else happens in that next dimension that I'm preparing to go to. Most people, when they're preparing for a vacation, they check everything off the list. Woo! I got my boots, I got my swimsuit, I got my dress, I got my pants for the club, I got all of this stuff. They check on their flight, they make sure their transportation is in order, they spend the time to get where they're going, they meticulously plan. But the vast majority of us, we don't meticulously plan for our advancing age. And we don't meticulously plan for the time when our conscious energy will exit these machines, because that's all this is. It is a machine to get you from the point of entry into this realm of existence to the point of exit in this realm of existence. And unless you plan, guess what? You plan to fail. And since we are quintessentially conscious energy, this is my worldview based on my years and years and years of studying. Not just Bible, not just Quran, but Buddhist teachings, Amish teachings, as well as an innate understanding that has been acquired through some serious study of physiology and psychology, as well as the organism of the brain. I am preparing for this inevitable end. I am. You got a fighter wouldn't prepare for a fight without training. But we don't train for what we're going to inevitably encounter. And since we are quintessentially conscious energy, when that conscious energy leaves this body, it has to go somewhere. And wherever it's go, it's going to be determined by your level of consciousness, by the strength at which you have developed the ability to, one, control its body, two, control its mind, and three, feed and nurture the spirit. Now, all three of these entities, spirit, mind, or soul, and body, they're living entities which must be fed, nurtured, and developed. And the only person that could do that is you. And the only way that you can do that is to follow the proven methods that have been handed down from generation to generation to generation since the beginning of time. This is a question I quite often ask people, and I get varying answers. I say, out of all the great people that you've heard about throughout the course of history, whether it was Yeshua, whether it's Abraham, whether it's Moses, whether it's Solomon, whether it's Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, whether it was Patton, whether it was Napoleon, whether it was Frederick Douglass, whether it was Abraham Lincoln, whether it was Martin Luther King, whether it was Bessie Ross, whether it was Nat Turner, regardless of who the person was, whether it was Sojourner Truth, Marcus Garvey, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, regardless of who it is, what are the two primary attributes that they possess? And I get a whole plethora of answers. And then after they give me the answers, they tell me what they think. I say, based on my analysis and study of these historical figures and their living patterns and what has been documented concerning them, the two attributes which are paramount are patience and the ability to endure pain. What is patience? Patience is the ability to wait for what you want, to have a clear goal set in mind, and have the ability to wait for what you want and to continually work until its accomplishment. And what is pain? Discomfort, discomfort that is brought about as a direct result from internal or external pressure that is designed to help change a thing. So this is where we're at. An update, they're doing okay. They're moving along, each operating at their own rate of growth. My responsibility is to go through these 90 days with them, to lay before them the tools that I have through experimenting and through documented study and evidence has proven itself to be true, to give to them and allow them to help them transform their lives. Now I know this video was kind of long, so I'm just going to cut it off here. I'll talk to you guys next week. Any questions, drop them off. All the people that send me friend requests, I accepted the majority of them. And those of you that answer questions, I'm going to get back and go in and start to answer these questions. Any of you that do have questions, send them to me. If I don't have an answer, guess what? I will go find it. I'm not the sharpest tool in the drawer, but I know how to access, assimilate, and process and give out the information. Primarily because I've learned how to operate me and because I love what it is that I do. With that in the eggshell, have a wonderful week. Adios, amigos. Adios.